Hello, it's Angela, and welcome back to my channel, Literature Science Lions, and today I'm going to be reviewing The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. And one of the reasons I wanted this review out there is while I was reading this book, everyone was asking me what I thought about it. So although I will talk about it in my wrap-up, I just felt like I wanted to have my thoughts out there because it's kind of a polarizing book on BookTube. People either love it or they were very disappointed in it. And I don't think I'm either of those camps. I think I had a really fun time with it. I'm not going to say this is like a game-changing book for me, favorite of all time. I don't know if I'll remember it in a year. It's hard to say, but I had a great time reading it for the 10 days that I did. So that's kind of overview of my thoughts if you like to go into things blind. Now, as always, a brief synopsis of what this book is even about. This is a standalone high fantasy where you're following many point-of-view characters and different geographies of this world, and eventually they're all going to have to deal with the same problem, which is this big bad that's coming back from the past. But it's fascinating because, like I said, they really are all from different parts of the world, and they have different worldviews, different experiences, different relationships with magic. It's a pretty big world, and it's a lot to cover in 800 pages. So when I was going into this book, I was very nervous. I think if you've been following my channel, you know that it was on the BookTube SFF Awards, and that's really the only reason I picked it up. Because before that, it was either on everyone's favorite of the year list of 2019 or everyone's meh list of 2019, and it's 800 pages, and I just really didn't want to read a meh book. And I don't think this book is meh. So I guess I went in being like, please be like a book I can read and enjoy, and then it went above that. It was like super fun. So know that that's like my lens. It exceeded my kind of low expectations. I didn't go into this wanting another Stormlight Archive. I didn't go into this comparing it to some of my favorite high fantasies. I really just wanted to have a fun time, and it delivered in that regard. Now, I do have some complaints. My biggest complaint, and I talk about it in my vlog, is that I don't feel like it's long enough. I think this would have benefited by being 2 500-page duologies, so you could really flesh out some of the plot points and some of the characters, because I think all of those were done above average, but they could have been spectacular. Like, I think this world and this story could have been one of my favorites of all time if it was longer than a standalone. And I think that's just part of what comes with fantasy and being a fantasy lover is you just always want more. You want to really know the characters. You want the world to be vast and expansive to explore. And as I go through kind of more of the nitty-gritties of each part of the book, it's every time I could say I wanted more. And I could have gotten more if it was a little longer, which is, I know, insane to say about an already 800-page book, but I guess I'm used to reading 1,000-page books that are one book in 10 of a series, so take that with what it is. I do think it's a great, complete story. I just think it could have been better if it was longer. So let's just dive into some of the bits. The world and the magic. I thought they were fun. I thought this idea of fire versus celestial magic was really cool, how it was integrated in the mages who wielded it, how it related to certain creatures. So this does have dragons and wyverns, I think they're called, and one is on the fire side and one is on the celestial side, and how that changes their relationship with humans and what their goals are in the world. The fire magic, actually, and I guess I should have said this earlier considering the times we're in, but it relates to a plague. It's not actually a huge part of the book, and it didn't actually make me queasy at all, but there is a plague. It's part of the fire magic and part of these wyverns, which are part of the big bad portion of this world. And I liked that we got Eastern culture and Western culture and Southern. Like, there are these different parts of the world we get to go to. And do I think it's Game of Thrones level detailed? No. But did I like Game of Thrones level detail? No. So if you're like me and you like to have a taste, but you don't want to get super in the weeds of the cultures and intricacies and the politics of a place, but you want enough to keep you interested, enough so that you know what's happening, you're going to get that here. I think it's really good at that. You don't feel dumb. You don't feel bored, which I think is great. Now, to get into the characters, I like most of them. I think there's only a few that I really hated when I was on their point of views, and hated's a strong word, but I guess extremely was bored or disliked, and that was Ross and sometimes Loth, who are the two main male point of views we get. There's nothing wrong with either of them, really. It's just I didn't find them as captivating as our female cast. You have Tanae and Ied, who are both phenomenal, powerful women in their own right in terms of what they do in their cultures and with magic. And then you have the queen, who is like, I loved unpacking the queen. She never gets a point of view. You only ever get to see her through the eyes of other characters. But you really do get to learn a lot about her. And I just love her. There is really wonderful character relationship development that I think it could have been amazing, like I said, if there was more pages to really flesh it out. But I did like what I had. I never felt like there was insta-love. I thought all friendships felt very grounded. I really enjoyed when characters were interacting in every way, and especially when characters who were maybe opposed to each other because of cultural differences interacted. I thought that was pretty good too. Again, though, like everything, if there were just more pages, it could have been better. Now, when we talk about the writing style, something that I really liked about it is that when it was descriptive, it was concise and simple, and my brain could actually almost see pictures. Now, I think I've talked about this previously. When I read, I'm one of the readers who more feels the scene or has emotions towards the characters. I never quite see the room or I never see the sword. I never quite see the face of a character. I don't mind that. I mean, it is what my life is. But sometimes when I'm reading very descriptive writing, I have to read a paragraph of an intense description and I don't get anything from it. It really frustrates me, and it's not the writer's fault because that works really well for other people. But here, I really liked that these prose made it so I could kind of see things, and I never felt like it was too lengthy. Now, that might mean for some people it's too simple. I don't know, it could be, but for me, in my brain, it worked really well. And also, I knew what everybody looked like. There are times when authors write characters and they just don't straight out say what they look like. They just imply, they put these subtle, vague things in there, and I'm supposed to guess what ethnicity they might look like. And here, she just straight up was like brown, black. It was just nice. I knew who had red hair, I knew who had green eyes. It was just nice that we weren't beating around the bush. I didn't have to subtly pick up details to just know what the main character looked like, which I appreciated. And I also feel that, yes, it could have been longer, but the pacing is really good. For me, there were maybe 20, 30 pages that I felt like I didn't love, but that's 20 or 30 pages out of 800 pages. That's extremely good pacing, in my opinion. And that's just me, because this is me enjoying world-building moments, so there might be parts that you would find boring that I just didn't. But for me, it was great. I enjoyed it. And now, probably my weakest point, and probably the part that could have been most improved by making it longer, is the plot. The plot is both good for me and bad. Good in that the journey doesn't matter. In that, if people are ever traveling from point A to B, we're not with them the whole time. We'll maybe be with them at the beginning, or at a part of the middle, or at the end, but we're not with them the whole time, because I hate journeying things. I'm just like, this is so boring. But here, you really only end up in the story when something important happens, period. Even if people aren't journeying from A to C. If time has passed and it's not important, you could be at the end of a season and not really have experienced maybe the entirety of fall or something with a certain set of point of view characters, which I think is good. It really cuts down on stuff that I could find boring. But I also feel like we could have had more moments where we were just somewhere just to watch a relationship grow or flourish. I just think that's the type of stuff I would have really wanted to have even more buy-in to relationships between characters. And also, I do see this online. People find the ending is too neat. And I think it comes from this, where we don't get to see a lot of the behind the scenes. We're only seeing when things happen, not how we get to how things can happen, which I think can lead to you finding maybe things being too convenient. But otherwise, I had a great time with this book. It was pretty fun. I think if you were worried about it being too complex or confusing, I don't think that's the case per se. I guess it depends on how much you like reading high fantasy that has many point of views and politics in it. But I feel like for that type of fantasy, this is on the easier side, minus the fact that it has a high page count. So if you pick this up and you do feel lost or dumb, don't take that personally. It just means I'm way too close in this genre and I don't remember what's accessible anymore. But I do feel like this is, mainly because I typically like prose that are accessible. That's kind of my thing, because that's what works with my brain. But yes, that's it for this one. As always, like and subscribe if you like what I do here, and otherwise I hope you have a great day. Bye.